We want to welcome all those that are attending today's Choosing a Scanner That Meets Your Needs webinar. My name is Kevin Anderson. I'm the Director of Business Development here at Lucyon Technologies. We're going to go ahead and get started. We have a bit of an agenda. We'll go over real quick. The first thing we're going to talk a little bit about is, what you even need to scan. We're going to talk about features that you want to look for, and then I'm going to go into a little bit of advice that I give a lot of our customers and clients that I've worked with in the past. And then we'll do a question and answer session at the end. So for that Q&A session, up in the top right hand corner of your screen, you should be able to see a little chat box up in the top right hand corner there, and you can enter in questions at any time during the webinar. Just go ahead and take a second, and you can go ahead and start typing questions in if you'd like at this time. So with that, what we want to look at here is why we even scan at all. And so when we look, we start looking at the cost of the actual paper. When we start looking at that, you can see that we can ask the question, how often do you visit your file cabinet or even the storage area to access all your documents? Now, the average office worker will actually spend about 400 hours per year searching for paper documents, according to PricewaterhouseCoopers. Now, we also can look at what our annual investment is into even having a file cabinet, and having paper itself, because we start looking at the file cabinets themselves, the paper, the toner, offsite storage in some cases, and it does cost an average of $25,000 just to fill a 4-drawer vertical file cabinet, and about $2,100 per year just to maintain that. Now, when we also look at an average organization, they'll make 19 copies of each document. They'll spend $20 in labor to file each document, spend $120 searching for a document, and they lose 1 out of every 20 documents, and they'll spend 25 hours recreating each one of those lost documents. And so we start looking at the cost of paper and what that does to our business, our firms. You can start to see some of the reasons why we want to start capturing data or the documents that we're storing. And so when we look at that, what do we look at scanning? Knowing what and how often you expect to scan will tell you pretty much everything you need to know about the features that you're going to need in the scanner. So when we look at, photos, documents, ledgers, business cards, or books even, so those are some of the things that we may need to scan, and because we know those different things, again, we're going to understand the features that we're going to be looking for. Now, there's a lot of different types of scanners out there today. We look at flatbeds, there's sheet feeders, automatic document feeders as well, and there's different features to those. And so for documents that may be a little older and more fragile, or maybe photos, or even maybe bound materials, you'll want a flatbed scanner. That's something that you'll probably want to look at. If you're planning to scan documents on a regular basis, especially when there is more than a couple of pages, then you're probably going to want to start looking at a scanner with a sheet feeder. A flatbed can get really tedious if you're going to be scanning one page at a time, and your documents it might be more than a few pages. And so sheet feeders can also handle thick documents like a driver's license or a medical insurance card. And so you can start looking at that. Now, if you're going to be scanning more than one page at a time, something else you want to look at is an automatic document feeder. This will typically allow you to put a large amount of documents into the feeder and allow you to walk away for a minute or two while it does its thing. Now, there are scanners out there that will have varied capacity, but most of the most common brands, such as like Fujitsu, Epson, or HP, can actually hold between 50 and 65 pages in their feeder. Now, other features that you might want to be looking at, whether or not the scanner can do a single side or a duplex. You want to look at resolution, the maximum paper size that it has the capability of scanning, and then other capabilities, maybe that you're going to be wanting to look at. So, when you start looking at it, you can ask your question, are most of your files single-sided, or do you print on both sides? Duplexing literally means that you can scan both sides of the document at the same time. In most cases, if you're scanning a lot, this feature is going to be something you want. Otherwise, you will be scanning one side and then flipping it over and scanning the other side if you have just a single-side scanner. And if you're having to do this, then there's no differences between a sheet feeder scanner and a flatbed scanner. Now, most of the time, resolution isn't going to be such a big issue, but most software solutions have a default of around 200 or 300 dpi or dots per square inch. Now, what this will do for you is it will, basically just create a decent file size of a document, but also the quality is going to be much better than as if you were to look at a fax copy of a document. And so that's why, when you're looking at scanners, most of them are going to be around 600 dpi when you're starting to look at it. But even with photos, unless you're planning on cropping the photo to capture a smaller part of the original, then even the 600 dpi that come default is plenty for you. Now, if you need to scan documents that have color and you want to keep the original format, then you're going to need to look for a scanner that will do both black and white and color. Most of the scanners that are out there today have both capabilities already, and they also do what's called grayscale for even better detail on your black and white documents or colored paper. And so you shouldn't have to worry so much about that. You just want to maybe look to just make sure that it can actually scan in color. Now, picking a scanner that can handle the size of originals may seem pretty obvious, but it is so often overlooked. My flatbed scanner at home can only do 8x10 sheets of paper. It won't do anything else. So if it's a legal size document, then it'll cut it off if I needed to scan that in, which obviously can present a big problem. Now, be sure to check to see if the scanner can actually scan the sizes that you need. So if you've got maybe blueprints or something like that, you might need to be looking at scanners that are going to be able to handle that. Now, when it comes to compatibility of the scanner, this becomes a very important topic. Scanners come with a couple of types of drivers. Drivers are basically the files that sit on your computer and allow the computer to communicate with the scanner. And so you want to make sure to purchase a scanner that will work on your current operating system and various programs that you might use. Sometimes document management systems will only work with Twain driver scanners, which can eliminate a lot more of the affordable scanners out there on the market. But on top of that, you want to look at it in the sense that if your operating system won't support a particular scanner anymore, that can become a big problem there too. Now, then there's also specialty scanners, scanning business cards, scanning blueprints, portable scanners. You may need to consider getting a specialty scanner rather than your day-to-day document scanner. So you might have both. Now, there are scanners created to specifically scan business cards, books, slides. For a long period of time during when I was attending university, I actually had a business where I was scanning in slides for people so that they could actually have their images available and they could have those digitized. You may also have large documents like blueprints, as I mentioned before, that need to get captured, and that has a special scanner. They have special scanners out there that do that. Or you may even travel around to your clients and visit with them and get documents from them. And so you may want to look for a scanner that can even be more portable, like the one we see here on the screen. I have one of my Fujitsu scanners, and I carry that around with me. I have a little bag for it. It's real simple to go ahead and transport, but these little tiny scanners like the one you see on the screen can be very helpful as well. Now, as we start to kind of wrap up here, I want to give a little bit of advice. I want to talk about what you're going to actually want to stay away from, what you want to look from an efficiency standpoint, and how many scanners that you should maybe even have. Now, when I start looking at things to stay away from, most multifunction printers, commonly maybe called as MFPs, they have built-in scanners, and most of them have a flatbed for the copy feature as well as a sheet feeder with small capacity of an automatic document feeder. And so to get the most out of scanning, though, I highly recommend getting a single-purpose scanner, meaning you're kind of staying away from these multifunction machines, mainly because of the fact that they're not really built specifically to do scanning. They're more built to do printing, it seems like. Mine have always worn out in the past. I've worked with a lot of clients that have actually replaced up to 10 in a year, just because of how much they're scanning, and the scanning components breaks, and so they have to go in and replace that. So if you're going to be scanning, get a piece of equipment that has been built to do the job, and it will last. Now, also, most scanners have a duty cycle, or a daily throughput of how much you're putting your documents in. This is basically the number of pages that it's been rated to be able to scan every day, and this range can be anywhere from 100 to thousands, depending on the type of scanner that you get. Some of those multifunction machines are really, more on that range of the lower side. So just because the multifunction machine is a great value, as you get multiple functions out of it, it doesn't mean that it's going to be able to hold up to the constant beating that you're going to give it when you're scanning pages. You'll most likely have to, again, purchase a number of them over a short period of time versus buying a high-quality scanner that will last and last. Now, another common question that I've had over the years is what should you be looking for? All of the information that I have given you so far are my common answers, and then the one piece of information that I haven't really addressed is the speed. If you want to have any hair left after going paperless in your home or office, then I'm suggesting to you that you really want to consider the speed of your scanner. Most of these MFP scanners that we see on the screen here are typically slow. They're typically rated to be around 10 pages per minute or less, and can slow down depending on the quality of the scan that you want. So I recommend getting a scanner that can do a minimum of 25 pages per minute, and can do both sides at the same time at that speed. There's plenty of scanners that are out there. I'm a big fan of Fujitsu myself, but that's what you're going to start wanting to look at. If you can find something faster and it fits into your budget, then I would definitely go that route. The scanner that sits right next to me, as I mentioned, I like Fujitsu, and I have the Fujitsu Fi-7160, and that can scan 40 pages per minute, and it can do both sides at the same time and not even slow down. It'll hold about 60 pages in the paper tray, and it is fast enough that I don't even go anywhere while I'm scanning, because it will be done long before I get back. I'm about to get a brand new Fujitsu scanner as well, the 7160, I believe it is, and that one actually can do 60 pages per minute, both sides at the same time, and so I'm really excited to be able to get that too. Now, the goal here is really to be as efficient with your scanning as possible. If you have to get up and go to the big copy machine to scan, you're not necessarily being efficient, even if it does scan 40 pages per minute or more. When you get up from your desk, you get distracted along the way. You get pulled into the boss's office, or you chat with a coworker. And so getting a scanner that you can fit right on your desk next to your computer, you'll find that you'll be able to get much more done, and you'll be much more productive. And so that kind of leads to the next piece here of how many scanners that you should really even have. So I would say to have as many scanners as you can afford to get. Back when I first started in the document management industry, I'd actually sold our document management software to an accounting firm. They actually had 10 people in their office. They bought each employee a license to the software, but they only bought one scanner. He just didn't really feel like it was going to be necessary to go out and buy more than that. And I can still remember to this day, because it's been about 10 years now since this happened, but I can still remember getting the phone call after tax season was over, and the owner purchased 7 additional scanners. He talked about basically how the scanning station became a big bottleneck in their process within just a couple of weeks, and he didn't want that to ever happen again. So what you want to do is you really want to sit down and evaluate what your needs are so that you can avoid the same situation. Of course, buy what you can afford, and if you need to add to your equipment as time goes on, that obviously works as well. And so these are just some of those pieces of advice that I would give as you start looking at that. You'll appreciate having additional scanners for people in your office, so that you're not having just one little station that everybody goes to scan. It's not much more efficient than having the multifunction machine. So with that, we're going to go ahead and answer some questions here, and we'll go ahead and field those. So I see the first question here that I got was whether or not the Fujitsu ScanSnap is a good quality scanner. I personally love the Fujitsu ScanSnap. I think it's a great scanner. It's very affordable. It ranges between the $400 and $500 mark. And so that's a really great scanner to be able to have. It does scan about 25 to 30 pages per minute, I believe. I'd have to go back and look at the spec sheet there, but so that answers that question there as well. Okay, so I see another question here on the Fujitsu scanner that I have. So it says, just how long will they last is the question on the Fujitsu. I personally, so I've had my Fujitsu 6130 for, I think it's about 6 or 7 years now. I've put hundreds of thousands of pages through that scanner. I've traveled with it quite a bit, going to different trade shows for continuing education. And my scanner has really held up. And so I have been really happy with it. The FI series of the Fujitsu, they're a little bit more expensive, but if you can afford it, then I highly recommend those as well. They're great. They last for forever. It just seems like the only thing that I've really done to maintain my scanner. So some people have to replace rollers and the pads that are inside. Those aren't that expensive. They're maybe about $30 to $50 or something like that. Before I've even done that, which I haven't even done yet, I have a spare that was shipped to me with my scanner, but I still haven't even replaced those. And all I've done is I've taken my roller out and I've taken an alcohol swab and just wipe those down, and it seems to work just fine. I haven't had any problems. It doesn't grab multiple pages at a time or anything like that. So really great scanner. So somebody asked what the cost was of those FI series. Those will range anywhere from $800 to $1,000, depending on where you go and buy it. If you're buying the brand new one, sometimes you can find used ones that you'll be able to find online, on Amazon or maybe Newegg or something like that. Now, one thing that I'm going to say about that is that, as Windows operating systems go, in a lot of cases, some manufacturers do not update their drivers to work on the newer platforms of the operating system. So if you're running something like maybe Windows XP still or Windows 7, then you might find that you'll have some problems when you upgrade to the newer operating systems with older scanners. They might work on the systems that you have now, but when you upgrade to a Windows 8 or a Windows 10, you may find your older equipment does not work, and you want to make sure that you're really careful before you purchase to make sure that the scanners that you're buying online are going to be compatible. And so we're going to be posting our video or this webinar presentation here on YouTube, and I'll go ahead and I'll put some links to some scanners that I highly recommend in the notes, so that you can actually click on the link and go and visit that immediately, and see what scanners that I would recommend. And there'll be multiple links for each scanner that I would recommend. Great question, though. So this question here, it says, am I a rep for Fujitsu? I'm not. Again, I'm just a very big fan. In addition to that question, the question here is, are other scanner manufacturers good? And yes, I mean, scanners have come a long way. It used to be that the companies that I had worked for would only offer a couple manufacturers. They would offer a Canon, and they would offer Fujitsu. And we even at some point added HP to it as well, and then that kind of dropped off. Some of the quality had not been as good on some manufacturers. There's also PlusTech that's out there. PlusTech actually creates a great scanner as well. It's affordably priced, so you can look at that as well. Again, I'll post some links to those on the YouTube page so that you can see those. But I even have in my office, I have another scanner that's a very high speed scanner. It's an HP. It's called the HP ScanJet Enterprise. It's a 7500 series. Again, that's really quick, very fast, and I've been really happy with that. Sometimes when I'm demonstrating, in an office, I take multiple scanners with me and I can show them options of what they might be looking for. But that's something that you might want to consider. And again, there's so many great scanners that are out there, and I'll list out multiple manufacturers there. But again, Fujitsu's the number one leading scanner out there on the market. I've been a big fan, but I've used a lot of the other scanners that are out there too, like the PlusTech I've used. I know a lot of the people there, even at the company, and I love my HP. Other people here in our office here at Lucyan Technologies, also they have Epson scanners and I've used those, and they have great quality as well. So it just depends on what you're looking for. Again, what type of features that you're looking for. Most of the scanners that I've been mentioning here do everything that I would say that an office would need to go paperless. But good question. Now, it doesn't look like we have any additional questions, so we'll go ahead and wrap up the webinar for today. Just so you have my contact information, if you need any additional info of scanners or our software solution to help you go paperless, you can go ahead and reach me. My number that is here is my direct line, and you've also got my email address here. Email is typically the best way to get in touch with me. You can send those, and I'll respond as quickly as I can. If you do call, and if I don't answer, it's just I'm on the phone with a customer or somebody that is looking at getting some consulting. And you can go ahead and just leave your name and contact information and a brief message, and I'll get right back to you. But with that, we'll go ahead and wrap up. We look forward to seeing you on future webinars, and hope you have a great day. Thanks.